All right, at the time of this recording, I'm 32 years old. And if I could go back and talk to my 30-year-old self when I first started my freight brokerage and give myself some advice on how to build a 7-figure freight brokerage faster and scale properly, this is what I would say. Number one, your carrier relationships, they are as important as your customer relationships, okay? Here's the truth. Many brokers learn way too late. If you treat your carriers like disposable assets, okay, like one and done, gone, your business, it will crumble, okay? Carriers, like the truckers and companies moving the actual loads, are the backbone of your service, okay? Treat them with respect, pay them fairly. Why? Because when a carrier loves working with you, they'll go the extra mile for you, literally and figuratively, and they'll cover that urgent load for you. Maybe that just randomly comes up. You don't know when it's going to happen, but they could cover you over anyone else who you contact, or give you first dibs on their truck when needed. And if you develop a reputation as a broker who lies or like rips off drivers, good carriers will avoid you, okay? So just remember, like, you don't actually move a single load yourself, okay? The carriers do. So build solid relationships with quality carriers, check in with them, pay them on time, tell them thank you as much as possible. It pays dividends. When you need capacity on a tough lane at 4 p.m. on a Friday, might or might not be a personal experience of mine. If you think cold calling is dead, you have been lied to, all right? Picking up the phone is your lifeline, especially in the beginning. I remember when I first started, I forced myself to make 30 calls a day. It was not fun. I was not used to it, but it did work. And when I did this, I landed a $300,000 contract within my first month. I wouldn't say that's normal, but it wouldn't have happened if I didn't pick up the phone. Cold calling is not outdated. That is very much a myth. The truth is, brokers willing to dial and dial consistently are the ones who land clients. Number 3, what if I told you you can land shippers without a $5,000 website? Sounds crazy, right? It is true, okay? I made my own website. Too many newbies think they need a fancy website or a fancy logo or like a marketing campaign to win clients or even just to start their business. Like they'll wait until that's all done to start. Stay away from maybe like the party neon colors, all right? I landed my first 6-figure shipper with nothing but a Gmail signature that was -Matt, phone number, business name, Better Business Bureau accredited, okay? The only thing your website's good for in the beginning is procrastination, okay? Don't let I need a $5,000 website be an excuse to avoid real prospecting. You can create it yourself on Wix within a couple days. All right, number 4, most new brokers waste time chasing spot quotes, and that's a dead-end strategy. Chasing one-off spot quotes with no relationship with that shipper that you're moving for is like playing whack-a-mole for pennies, okay? Like, the brutal truth is that the real money is made with repeat business from customers who respect the value that you bring to the table. All right, number 5, freight brokering is 80% sales and 20% logistics. Like, I know you love talking trucks and lanes, especially if you're a former truck driver, but if you hate sales, you'll hate this career. Being a broker means that you're consistently selling. You're selling shippers on giving you a load. You're selling carriers on taking that load and selling solutions when things go wrong. And if anyone tells you that it can be done part-time, they are selling you false hope, okay? If you imagined kicking back while loads are just magically moving themselves, no. I have a few big customers that I have full-time drivers on, which gives me that luxury, but 99% of you will need to work some long days to get to this point, okay? Not just a couple hours here and there. So embrace the sales mindset. Every call and every email or every meeting is going to be an opportunity to close a deal or open the door. Once you actually accept that you're in the people's business, not just the freight business, you will start seeing results. Number 6 is that consistency is absolutely king. So early on, I learned that making a few calls one day and then taking it easy for the rest of the week gets you absolutely nowhere. The brokers pulling in like 6 or 7 figures are consistently grinding every single day, okay? A good benchmark for a new broker, try 30 calls a day, 4 to 5 times a week, then make your way up to 50. It sounds brutal, but consistency actually does separate the amateurs from the pros, and that 50 can go by very quickly once you get the rhythm down. So it's better to make 50 calls every day than 100 calls on Monday. You're getting that motivation on Monday. You're like, you know what? I'm going to get this week off to a great start, and then just totally drop off. Like, this business rewards persistent effort, and discipline beats motivation. Just remember that. Number 7, it is not a get-rich-quick scheme. So, but you can get rich, and you might make $0 your first couple months, and that doesn't mean you're failing. Like, you're building a real business. It means that you're learning. The freight brokerage world is more like a snowball effect than like a lightning strike, okay? It takes time to build that momentum. And I wish someone told me that in the beginning, and I spent weeks wondering if I'd made a huge mistake, and there was a lot of down days. But once that snowball starts rolling and you start getting in the groove and you start getting, your script down, your first few customers, your carrier network building up, it can turn into an avalanche of income. So don't quit too early. This business can make you wealthy, okay? But only if you survive the frustrating early grind, which everyone goes through. Very normal, okay? Treat your first year or even your first couple of years as like paid training, like with pay being the knowledge and connections that you gain. All right, number 8, find a niche and absolutely dominate that one niche, all right? We move it all, okay? Vans, reefers, flatbeds, hazmat, oil rigs, live animals, you name it. Slow down, okay? If you try to be a jack of all trades as a newbie, you'll be a master of none, okay? I love that phrase, man. The smart move is to focus on a specific niche or a lane or trailer type, whatever, and become an expert in that, okay? Maybe it's refrigerated produce in the Southeast, or like flatbed steel out of Pittsburgh, whatever. Like, shippers trust a specialist, like a subject matter expert in something very specific. And if they see you as a very small broker just getting started and you say you can do everything, they're not going to believe you. And likely you're not going to be very confident in yourself either to do all that either. Like, plus, focusing on one niche helps you refine your carrier network and lay knowledge a lot faster, okay? Like, become the go-to broker for that niche, and you'll fend off a ton of competition because you're not just another generic name on a list. Like, you are the expert in that space. Number 9 is trying to book freight without a strategy, which is basically like throwing darts blindfolded, okay? Like, when I first started, I thought I could just randomly call any business that ships anything. And I was essentially blindfolded. Like, I was tossing darts, like hoping something would stick. It might have been against my wall, but that's a recipe for frustration, okay? You need a game plan and know which industries you're targeting, and also, which lanes that you want to run and how you'll price and service them. And for example, like quoting freight without knowing the current market rate, that's blindfolded darts, okay? You have to study the market and know your lane rates and know seasonality and know what your competitors are offering. And going in with a strategy is the difference between consistently hitting the bullseye and making a bunch of holes in your wall, okay? First apartment out of college, I had a dartboard on the wall, and I remember spackling literally half the wall since I'd like chuck it from the other room. So before you pick up the phone, do your homework, okay? Plan your attack and then execute, okay? Don't be me that was chucking the dart from the other room. All right, number 10, customer service. It will make or break your business, okay? Answer your phone, respond to emails, whether it be a shipper or a carrier, within a few minutes, and proactively update your shippers on every load status, especially the small shippers. Like, they're always the most intense with that stuff. Shippers have a million fires to put out. Like, they have a whole separate job than talking to you. So if you can be the one thing that they don't have to worry about, you will get more loads eventually. All right, number 11, prepare to be ignored. It's not personal. It's never personal. And as a new broker, you'll hear a lot of crickets when you're reaching out to prospects, okay? You'll send dozens of introduction emails and get maybe one reply. You'll call people who say like, yeah, sure, like, give me a call in a few weeks, and then just totally ghost you when you follow up with them. That's normal, all right? Shippers get bombarded daily by brokers, okay? The truth is that you're not special to them yet, okay? Like, don't take the silence personally or get discouraged, okay? Persistence and having thick skin is what's important. Maybe on the 5th voicemail that you leave, they finally give you a shot out of just sheer persistence. Like, one day, I finally had a shipper on the phone after months of follow-up calls, and he said, you know what, like, I figure since you're this persistent, you might just be hungry enough to handle our crazy business. And that immediately turned into a 6-figure client within month 1, okay? Rejection and being ignored are just a part of the game. It's going to happen. It happens to everyone. So brush it off and keep going. Every no brings you closer to a yes. All right, number 12, fortune is in the follow-up, okay? This old sales adage is 100% true in freight brokerage, okay? Most new brokers give up after 1 or 2 unanswered calls. I'm not even kidding you. People hate rejection. Big mistake, all right? Shippers almost always expect you to follow up multiple times before they trust that you're serious. It's weird, but it's true. Just remember, like, follow up with value, okay? You're not just like saying, hey, just checking in every single time. You don't want to be the gnat that's like surrounding their head. Maybe share a market update or like a quick note like, hey, I just noticed truck capacity is tight in Texas this week. If you need any extra help moving loads, I've got trucks. Just let me know. Show them that you're thinking about their specific needs for their specific business, okay? You're trying to add value in some way, just like you should for anyone in your life. And I've had prospects that never responded for 3 months and then suddenly reply like, hey, you know what? I got a load you can help with. Why? Because I kept politely pinging them over and over again. So be pleasantly persistent. If you follow up more than the other lazy brokers who quit after one email and then move on to the next prospect, you'll eventually land clients simply because you stayed on their radar, even though they didn't show it. All right, number 13 is don't just compete on cheap rates. That is a race to the bottom. A lot of newbies think that the easiest way to win a shipper is to offer a super low price. They undercut everyone to snag a load and realize there's no profit or that they can't find a truck for that cheap. Shippers do care about price, but they also care about service. And if you're just the cheapest, like, you won't be able to follow through long term. Instead of selling price alone, we're going back to value. Maybe you specialize in their niche, or maybe you provide 24/7 updates and you were able to hire a small team abroad, or you have great carrier capacity in their lanes. Like sure, you need to be competitive with price, but you don't need to be like the bottom feeder broker, okay? It's okay to say, like, I can't match that ultra low rate, but here's also what I can do aside from rate. And then highlight your reliability, your speed, or your tech. Shippers will pay a bit more for someone who actually delivers what they promise. $1 million of freight at a 0% margin is $0 earned, okay? We want to make money, not just book loads for free. Number 14 is embrace technology, but don't expect it to do your job for you. Like, we live in an age of load boards and CRM systems and digital freight matchmaking now and tracking apps. Great tools. It can streamline your operations and you should use them. A good TMS and load board subscriptions are basically like must-haves. However, no app or software is going to replace the grind that you still have to do. Posting a load on DAT, it doesn't guarantee a truck. And it doesn't guarantee a good rate either. Like, you still have to negotiate and vet the carrier. Having a CRM full of leads also, like, means nothing if you don't actually call them either. Number 15 is stay more consistent than your competition, okay? A brutal truth about humans, a lot of us are lazy or complacent. And in the freight brokerage world, there are thousands of competitors, but very few will consistently actually do their job and show up every day. Don't get distracted with TikTok or Instagram. Mic drop. Number 16, cash flow is the queen, okay? You can be killing it in sales. You can be moving loads and still go broke if you don't manage your cash. Brokers pay carriers quickly, but might not get paid by shippers for over 30 days, okay? That gap can sink you if you're not prepared. Like, don't be afraid to use a factoring service, okay? I would highly suggest anyone, especially new to freight brokering, to use a factoring service. Don't use your own capital for this business. That adds a lot of risk to it. Whole nother video. Get a factoring company. All right, number 17 is getting your authority, otherwise known as your MC number, which is the easiest part of this business, okay? Seriously, like getting your MC number, your UCR, your bank account, insurance, TMS, CRM, LLC, BOC3, and bond is not what makes you a successful broker, okay? I was so proud when I got my freight broker authority, thinking, you know what, I'm official now. Here comes the money. I hadn't even started working yet, okay? Don't fall into the trap of thinking that being licensed means being in business, okay? Until you have customers and carriers and cash flow, that authority is just a piece of paper, all right? By all means, celebrate that milestone, for sure, okay? Go out, have a nice date night. You earned it, but understand it's like getting a gym membership, okay? You don't just get fit by signing up. The brutal truth is that a license, it doesn't guarantee you success. What you do after you're licensed is what matters, okay? Grind for those customers. Like, don't expect freight to just fall in your lap just because you can legally broker it. Number 18 is mentors and training can shortcut your journey in a big way, big time. And I'll be honest, like, I tried to lone wolf it at first and I made every single mistake in the book. I think everyone should, honestly. The day I finally sought guidance from a mentor who'd been in the game for a couple decades was where a lot of my trajectory changed. A good mentor or coach will call you out on your nonsense, all right? They'll steer you away from a negative mentality and give you proven strategies to succeed, hopefully, if they're successful themselves. And it's not about having someone like holding your hand along the way. It's about like learning from their scars and lessons so you don't have to repeat them. One of my first members followed my exact prospecting strategy and hit 25K in revenue in his first 30 days. Why? Because he skipped the trial and error that I went through and executed a proven game plan, okay? Invest in yourself, like whether through a course or a mentor or even just devouring YouTube tutorials from reputable experts. It can literally save you years of frustration. All right, number 19 is be aware of bad advice and like industry gurus, especially here on YouTube. I'm not calling out anyone's names. On the flip side of seeking mentors, like be careful who you listen to, okay? Everyone has an opinion on freight brokering. Your uncle, your neighbor, random people on Facebook groups, Reddit. Oof, Reddit. A lot of advice floating around is outdated or just plain wrong. For example, you might hear like just blast out emails to shippers. You don't need to cold call at all whatsoever. Like, I have no cold calling techniques, but it's not possible to do only no cold calling techniques. The guy telling you that you can only need to email probably never brokered a day in his life or has brokered for a very long time at all because the market has changed. Or the advice like just focus on finding trucks and the freight's just going to come on its own. Like, what the hell? Like, also garbage. Freight first, trucks second, people. Don't take swimming lessons from someone who's never been in the pool or sold their freight brokerage years ago. You need to have a freight brokerage to know what's going on in the current market in order to teach it, in my opinion. Every year can be a complete 180 from the last. So be careful on who you get your advice from. Number 20 is that you are a problem solver now and embrace that, okay? At its core, the freight brokerage industry is about solving freight problems for your customers, okay? A truck broke down last minute, find another one fast. A load's overweight at the scale, like coordinate with the shipper to rework it. There's a weather delay, inform all parties and adjust your plans, okay? The brokers who thrive run towards the problems. They don't run away from them. Shippers will throw you their headaches all the time, and that's why your job exists. Like, if every load moved perfectly, they probably wouldn't need brokers as much, okay? So don't complain when things go wrong. Like, just expect it and know that you'll have to deal with probably multiple issues every single day. Number 21 is that the freight market is cyclical. Like, plan for the feast and the famine. When the economy is booming and trucks are tight, like, you might feel like a genius, like loads are plentiful and rates are high, making a lot of money. But markets turn, and they can turn very quickly, as we experienced very recently. Suddenly, capacity floods, and then rates plunge, or your customers' volumes drop. New brokers who only know good times get stunned by a downturn, okay? Just expect it. And if you know prices are trending down, communicate with shippers and adjust to expectations before you're caught moving a load at last month's rate. The brokers who survive decades are the ones who plan for winter during the summer, okay? It's not pessimism, it's just preparation. Not a sponsorship, but if you, Red Bull, if you see this, I'm just saying. Number 22 is double check everything. I know it sounds boring, and you've heard it all your life, I'm sure. The details can and will bite you if you're careless. And I'm talking like mixing up numbers or delivery appointments or the weight or dimensions or truck requirements or addresses, all the fine print, everything you see on the BOL. Early in my career, I lost a customer because I put the wrong pickup address on a rate confirmation. Like, one tiny oversight caused a truck to go to a different state. Yes, it gets crazy. The load was very much delayed, and the customer's production line shut down. Now, I triple check important details on every single load, so don't be me. Double check. Number 23 is Murphy's Law is alive and well in freight, all right? If something can go wrong, eventually it will. Trucks break down, forklifts, they puncture pallets, drivers get held up at previous stops, weather creates traffic. The lane that was paying $3 a mile last month is now paying $1.80. You have to anticipate issues and be ready to respond. And that means building a little cushion into your transit times and rates when possible. And then always having a backup plan. I always try to have at least a plan B for each load if possible, if I have the time. And when an issue happens, despite all that, communicate proactively. Shippers will forgive a delay if you warn them early or right away and are actively fixing it, okay? They won't forgive you if you're leaving them in the dark. The brokers who thrive aren't the ones with no problems. Those don't exist. They're the ones who manage problems best, okay? Hope for the best, plan for the worst, and that mantra, I guarantee it will save you. 24 is your first year will demand all you've got and then some, okay? In year one of your brokerage, you'll likely work harder and longer than you ever have in your entire life. Again, like this isn't possible part-time. Yes, some people have gotten lucky, but it is not normal. If any guru out there or any sales trainer, whatever, is selling you on the idea that you can, they are lying to you, trying to sell you something that's not realistic. You've got early mornings quoting loads, you have late nights tracking deliveries sometimes, or prospecting clients, maybe even a few weekends handling emergencies or catching up on paperwork. It can get intense really quickly. It's not all the time intense, but it can be, and you have to be there for it when things go wrong, okay? I want to be real with you. Like, if you're not willing to put in heavy hours initially, this might not be for you. However, and this is important, like, it's all temporary. All this chaos, all this craziness, you can smooth it over time. And you won't always have to hustle at 110% once you build a stable book of business and maybe hire a team of agents or operations reps. But up front, sacrifice absolutely is required, okay? I missed some Netflix binges and nights out with friends on that first year, but now I get to enjoy the freedom of a thriving business. So grind hard now and relax more later. So just be prepared. Like, the freight brokerage world will test your work ethic like nothing else. I guarantee it. Number 25, burnout is real. You got to pace yourself for the long haul here. But wait, like, didn't I just tell you to give it all you've got? Like, yes, but here's the catch. You also need to take care of yourself for the journey. Too many freight brokers sprint for a few months working like 14-hour days, and then they just hit a wall. Like, I've pulled my share of 2 a.m. nights, but I've also learned to listen to my body and my mind. So take short breaks during the day. I've got my dog Ranger here when we take walks a couple times during the middle of the day on purpose, even though I know she doesn't need it, just so I can get some fresh air, hit the gym, or do something to blow off steam. Set at least one day aside where you're not consistently checking emails. I know it can be really hard, but just try. And as soon as you can afford to, consider outsourcing or hiring help for repetitive tasks like tracking shipments or doing paperwork for you. And the truth is, if you burn out, your business burns out. You are the engine of your freight brokerage. So keep that engine maintained, all right? Hustle hard, but also recharge so you can keep that hustle going. And just remember, like, this is a marathon. It is not a sprint. Number 26 is build a support network. Like, you will need it, okay? This business can be very stressful and isolating, especially if you're a one-person operation to start, which likely you will be. You need people in your corner. Maybe it's a mentor. Maybe it's like an active community of freight brokers like we have in our Discord, which is so fun. Maybe it's just like your spouse or your friends who cheer you on and listen to your rants about like that one impossible customer. Don't try to do this completely alone. Also, be open with your family about your journey. Like, before you even start, just let them know the stakes and why you're putting in so much effort, or why you will be putting in so much effort. Their understanding and encouragement, it will fuel you on the tough days, because if you don't have their support, it's going to get rough. Success is not solo. So even if others can't help make your sales calls for you, their emotional support can make a huge difference in your motivation. Number 27 is you will make costly mistakes. Consider that basically like a tuition, okay? You're going to screw up. Like, maybe you'll quote a load too low and lose money covering it. Maybe you'll hire a carrier who damages freight and you eat a claim. Maybe you'll forget to secure a rate confirmation and get squeezed on payment. It's happened to the best of us, okay? Mistakes are guaranteed, but they are your best teachers, okay? So don't get paralyzed by the fear of messing up. Despite your best efforts and like double checking, like we talked about before, something will go wrong eventually. And when it does, own it, fix it, and learn from it. Consider these losses as the tuition you pay to the school of experience. That was pretty good. I'll take that. All right, number 28 is integrity is your invisible freight. What do I mean by that? This one's a bit of a life lesson, all right? Your word is everything in this business, okay? If you promise a truck on a load and then bail last minute because you found a cheaper option, that initial carrier will remember that. And if you lie to a customer about an issue, they will find out about it eventually. The freight world is surprisingly small. Relationships and reputation are very intertwined. I learned that doing the right thing might cost you in the short term, like turning down a load you know you can't handle rather than taking it and failing, but it pays off in the long run, okay? Shippers and carriers remember these things. I've had carriers cover loads for me at a loss because they knew I'd been fair to them in the past. And I've had customers stick with me through a mistake because they knew I was honest and upfront, and I had that reputation for it. Integrity builds trust, and trust builds an enduring business, okay? Treat every deal and every interaction as if your reputation is on the line, because it is. Number 29 is not every customer is a good customer. When you're new, you feel like grabbing any shipper willing to work with you is the right idea, but just beware. Some freight is more trouble than it's worth, okay? There are shippers out there who will micromanage you. They'll blame you for everything. They'll pay you late or not at all, or have freight that's nearly impossible to cover at rates that they offer. It's okay to fire a customer politely if their relationship is costing you money or sanity. In my early days, I worked with a produce shipper who paid bottom barrel rates and would call me screaming for trucks at very, very late in the day on a Friday. I would be at the bar and I would just be like, guys, I got to go home because it's this one shipper again. They'd be like, oh, that shipper? I'd be like, yeah, that shipper. I made pennies and lost sleep. And I eventually walked away and focused on better clients. I only have so much time in the day. Best decision ever. Like when you have a few solid customers, you aim for shippers who value partnership, pay fair rates, and communicate well with you, okay? 3 great customers that you service impeccably are better than 10 nightmare customers that drive you into the ground, making you no money. Number 30 is vet your shippers like you vet your carriers, okay? We always hear like vet your carriers, and you absolutely should. Check insurance and safety, reliability, all that. But few talk about vetting customers, okay? Some shippers will string you along or even not pay you at all. I haven't had a shipper not pay me, but I have had a shipper wait several months to pay my factoring company. Not fun, okay? Your factoring company, by the way, which you should get, will do credit checks and they'll deny these shippers ahead of time most of the time. And when they do, like, don't see it as a loss, okay? They just save your ass, trust me. 31 is negotiate, but know your worth. Shippers will negotiate hard, okay? It's their job to get the best rates for the company. Carriers will also negotiate hard. It's also their job to get the best pay. And so you're in the middle, and yes, you'll have to negotiate daily, but don't let yourself get squeezed to the point where you're working for free or negative. Like there's some shippers who can just go direct to carriers, and there's some that require brokers for their huge volume of business. Perfectly fine to walk away from a load that doesn't make financial sense, okay? In fact, like sometimes saying no to a cheap rate can earn a shipper's respect, and they know you have to run a sustainable business, okay? So the truth is, you can't be everything to everyone. Number 32 is that reputation is everything in this industry. And by now, you see how many of these truths tie back to trust and reputation. I once called a carrier to cover a load, and the dispatcher said, hey, we've actually heard of your freight brokerage. Like, drivers seem to like you. And I was floored. I was like, I mean, yeah, duh, what? Of course. I didn't realize people were talking about me, like, but they are. Like, I was a one-man band. Like, apparently people already knew about me. People in logistics talk, okay? Carriers talk at truck stops, on forums. Shippers talk at conferences and to colleagues. If you build a rep as a solid, reliable broker, you'll start getting calls inbound instead of always chasing. And I am thankful enough to be getting inbound calls now at this point, which is amazing. Every single time I get one, I get so giddy. And on the flip side, one shady move that can haunt you, all right? There are brokers who get blacklisted by carriers because they didn't pay on time, or by shippers because they blew up like one too many loads, or the communication sucked. Like, so do right by people consistently. And even those who haven't worked with you will hear good things, okay? That reputation becomes a selling point. Think of it as kind of like your invisible marketing team working for you 24/7 for free, spreading either good news or bad news about you. It's just up to you which story they tell. All right, you got to admit, that was a pretty good one. That was pretty good. Number 33 is always be learning and adapting, okay? The day you think, I've got all this figured out, is the day your business starts dying, okay? The freight world is consistently changing. The market rates, you got technology, you have regulations that are changing, hello EDLs, and best practices, okay? Make it a habit to learn something new every day. And it could be reading industry news, or learning a new software feature, or listening to a podcast from a freight expert, or listening to the Freight Broker YouTube channel. What? The most successful brokers that I know are students of the game, okay? They're active in our Discord chat. They study their craft. If a new load board tool comes out, they test it. If freight patterns shift due to a global event, they adapt their strategy, okay? Stay curious and stay humble. Even after years in the game, I'm still learning, from customers, from carriers, even from newbies sometimes, and who bring fresh ideas to the table. And this willingness to learn will keep you sharp and ahead of the pack. And as the saying goes, like, the more you learn, the more you earn. All right, it's a little bit corny, but it's true. Number 34 is differentiate yourself or drown in a sea of brokers. So let's face it, like to a shipper, a lot of brokers sound the same. Like great service, great rates, like we're the best, yada, yada. Why should they choose you though? This is where you need to promote your unique value. Maybe you provide daily lane reports or market updates, which I highly suggest, by the way, that others don't. Maybe you specialize in a specific region or a type of freight. Like maybe you have a proprietary tracking system that gives customers peace of mind. Even your personal background can be a differentiator. For example, if you were an Army logistics officer or just in the Army in general or a truck driver turned broker, play that up. Like when I started emphasizing that I specialize in their niche and gave examples of how I solved similar problems for other customers, I noticed prospects started leaning in a little bit more. Your branding and elevator pitch should quickly answer what makes me different and better than the 10 other people cold calling this shipper today. If you don't have an answer, create one. Okay, stand out or you'll blend in and be forgotten. Number 35 is to stay organized. Track your leads, your loads, your everything. It's the whirlwind of daily brokerage life. It's easy to lose track of things, like a follow-up you meant to do, an invoice you should have sent, a carrier's truck availability. Disorganization can silently kill your success. Use a CRM for sales leads. Use your TMS to its fullest for load management. Keep a calendar with reminders for important tasks. It sounds simple, but you have to do it. When you're juggling 50 loads or 200 active prospects and 50 carriers, your brain will drop the ball if you rely on memory alone. Once I set up a simple spreadsheet and later a proper CRM, I started turning more prospects into customers simply because I could actually follow up when I said I would. Also, maintain organized records, so contracts, insurance certifications, PODs, etc. Like in a dispute or audit, having your paperwork in order can save your butt, all right? Long story short, treat your one person or small team brokerage like a Fortune 500 company when it comes to organization, okay? It builds discipline and professionalism that directly translates to making more money, which is what we all want to do. Number 36 is that revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, okay? This is a business saying that holds very true in brokering. Don't brag or fool yourself about, hey, I did $1 million in revenue this month if you only made $1,000 in net profit, okay? Some brokers move a ton of freight, but they're barely scraping by because they're running on tiny margins or high expenses. Aim for a healthy margin on your loads. Typically, broker margins are around 15 to 20%. Keep your overhead low, especially at the start. Do you really need that fancy office or can you work from home? Like, do you need 5 software subscriptions or do you just need one really good one? Like, focus on profitable growth, okay? I'd rather have you move 5 loads a week at $200 profit each than 10 loads at $50 profit each, okay? Less stress, more money. Track your numbers closely. Know your weekly, monthly profit, not just gross, okay? The sexy big revenue means nothing if there's no profit, okay? After all, like, you can't deposit revenue into your bank account, okay? Only profit. Number 37 is turn failures into feedback. In business and life, like, this mindset is gold. When a bid doesn't convert or a customer leaves, don't just shrug it off. Analyze it, okay? Why did you lose that bid? Was your rate off? Did you not build enough rapport? Did a competitor offer something that you didn't? Like, why did that customer stop calling? Try to ask for feedback. Was there an issue that you didn't address, or did their friend become a broker and undercut you? Every setback has a lesson embedded in it. When I was starting, I lost a shipper's business and later found out it was because their new traffic manager had a cousin who was a broker. Nothing I could have done. But in other cases, I learned maybe I needed to follow up more or just communicate better when issues arose. And by treating each setback as a learning opportunity, you actually never really fail. You either win or you learn. And this attitude, it keeps you from getting demoralized and it sharpens your approach over time. In short, the only true failure is not learning from one. Number 38 is that patience and persistence will take you further than any quick win tactic. We live in a world of instant gratification, but freight brokering is old school in that you have to earn your stripes over time. Many people that I know give up right before the dam was about to break. I recall being this close to quitting at month 4 because I only had a couple small customers. By month 5, I landed a big account that completely changed everything for me. And it gave me the confidence to get another one of those and another. And what if I quit earlier? Persistence is hanging out until you succeed, okay? Patience is staying calm and focused during that process rather than feeling entitled to instant success, okay? Combine them, and then you become absolutely unstoppable. Most of your competition will quit. If you don't, you automatically rise to the top of the pack. Your mindset is your greatest asset or your liability, okay? You need an entrepreneurial mindset to make it through this journey. That means being proactive and like seizing opportunities, not waiting, staying positive or seeing solutions and not just problems, and being resilient, like bouncing back from the bad days. If you believe every day that I'm new, it's too hard, I can't do this, then you're right. You won't do this. But if you cultivate a mindset of like, I'll figure it out, I'll work harder and smarter, and I deserve success, you'll find then ways to make it happen. This isn't cheesy like self-help talk. It is reality. It helped me. And I've seen 2 brokers with the same resources and training end up in very different places, okay? One was crippled by fear and just like gave up after the first bad week, and the other kept a winner's mindset and pushed through to create an 8-figure business, okay? Train your mind like you train for a sport, okay? Guard against that negativity and feed it with motivation. Number 40 is that the journey is very well worth it, okay? After all these brutal truths, like you might be thinking like, man, is this even worth it? Or like, let me tell you, absolutely yes. Once you get past the initial gauntlet and like start seeing progress, the freight brokerage world is one of the most rewarding careers out there. You can make a life-changing amount of income. You can build a business that's truly yours with clients who rely on you and appreciate your work. I've watched this business take people from absolutely broke to buying their dream homes from zero experience, okay? The road is not easy, but that's what makes it valuable, and I think that's what makes it the most rewarding. If you're willing to apply these and keep learning and keep pushing, you can build a freight brokerage and a life that you are damn proud of. Action is the difference maker, okay? Now the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? And if you want a step-by-step guide on how to build your own freight brokerage, zero experience, click that video.